We was in the drill and Hugs was like, Jay, he's not going to make it. You got to get his bags and get him on the first train smoking back to Cleveland. He's not going to make it here, I'm telling you.
Hi again, everybody, and welcome to the Let's Reign podcast, where you are going to hear and see revealing conversations with current and former UC players, coaches, and administrators. I'm your host, Dan Hoard, and for our very first episode, we are coming out hot with one of the greatest Bearcats of all time, a first-team All-American, a two-time Conference USA Player of the Year, a member of the UC Athletics Hall of Fame, the guy who played in more wins than any other player in UC basketball history, the great Steve Logan. Did I forget anything?
No, how did you remember all that stuff? That's great, man.
I've got a lot more.
Yeah, you got
I've got a lot more. We're going to get to some of those
good,
things. But,
man.
you know, I saw every game you played at UC. I probably saw you practice 100 times. We broadcast games together this past year on the radio, but it occurs to me there are plenty of things about you I don't know. So let's start from the beginning. I think people know that you grew up in the Cleveland area. Mm-hmm. When did you become obsessed with basketball, and how did you get so good?
Well, I come up in a big household with a lot of cousins and uncles and stuff like that play basketball. So, you know, just playing around with them in the house and on the court and stuff like that, I built up a infatuation for basketball, and I said, you know what? I want to be good at basketball. You know, my uncles played, my cousins played, and I want to give it a shot. And so I started going out there on the playground and just playing around with the basketball, and I fell in love with it.
Were you one of the shorter kids, or did you reach a point where you stopped growing and they kept growing?
Well, they stopped growing, and I kept growing. You know, my mom is like 5'5", 5'6", so her brothers are really like short and stuff like that, and, you know, the nephews and stuff like that. So now when I get around them, I'm like, wow, I'm really taller than you guys. I'm only like 5'11". You guys are like 5'8". You know what I mean? So I feel like a giant around them guys, man.
So you mentioned the family members that you aspired to play with and play like. Was there somebody in particular, whether it was an uncle or whether it was a coach, that really took you under his wing?
Well, it was. I think it was a little bit of all of that. You know what I mean? My uncle was Stuart Adamson. He played at the Glenville School there. You know, we was part of the Glenville district. Rodney Adamson, my cousin. So them guys played basketball and, you know, football for the Glenville, you know, which is a big powerhouse in Cleveland, public school in Cleveland. And, you know, I just wanted to get into any type of sport, and, you know, playing football and basketball early was good for me.
By the time you got to high school, I know you wanted to be a Bearcat. Mm-hmm. Why?
I just liked their style. You know, me coming from the inner city, you know, gutsy, you know, with a lot of edge and chip on my shoulder. I felt like that would be the perfect fit for me. You know what I mean? Them guys played with a lot of toughness, you know, and then seeing the general, Coach Huggins, you know, out there running the show and being on them guys and coaching them hard, I said, you know what? I want to go to that school.
But at first, that love was not reciprocated.
Right, everybody knows
Yeah,
that story.
You had a high school teammate named Sam Clancy. He was a great player, 6'7". He went to USC, got drafted by the NBA, by the Philadelphia 76ers. UC wanted him, not you.
Oh, they wanted Coach Huggins loved Sam, man, and a lot of coaches across the world did. You know, Sam was a big guy, rebound, block shots, run the floor. He did it all, you know what I mean? And so UC was really high on him. And so we played for the same AAU team. So all the college coaches would be there, you know, watching Sam, and Coach Huggins would be there watching Sam. And I started to build a relationship with Coach Huggins, like, you know, I really like UC. You know, he's like, well, we don't need any guards. We're looking at Sam. You know, and he was honest. He was honest, you know what I mean? And he said that to me like 4 times, you know what I'm saying, in 4 different parts of the world. He was like, we're not recruiting any guards. And so I just finally got fed up with him. And the last time I saw him, I said, well, every time you come see Sam, I'm going to have 40 or more, and I'm going to shoot the lights out. And, you know, we laughed about that, you know, and every time he came to see Sam, I would have a great game. And so one time, you know, Mick Cronin got involved. You know, Mick was a great recruiter at the time. So he started recruiting me, you know, and I said, Mick, you know, Hugs don't like me. It's clear as day he don't like me. He don't want me. You know what I mean? What do I got to do? You know, and Mick was like, just keep playing, man. Just keep showing up, you know, and keep doing what you're doing. You know, we still recruiting you, but, you know, Hugs is high on Sam. And so one night, Mick called me and said, hey, we getting ready to fly out to L.A. and watch this shooter play. Stay around your phone, because if you don't have a good game and Hugs is going with us, we'll be giving you a call. And so I was like, man, I'm not going to wait up for this guy to call me and say, hey, it's my scholarship is depicted on if he shoots good or not or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, we fell asleep, and the phone rang like 1:30 in the morning. And I just broke my feet trying to get to the phone because back then, it was a house phone ringing off the hook. You didn't have the cell phones and stuff like that. So I picked up the phone and it was Mick. And he was like, Hugs is pissed off. This guy went 2 for 50. We got to get you on a plane down here to give you an official visit. And the rest is history.
So 2 for 50 might be a slight exaggeration, but in any case, this other shooting guy that they really liked had a terrible weekend.
Yes,
if he had been hot that weekend, you wind up somewhere else.
Definitely. I definitely believe that. So Hugs, he wanted a shooter. He wanted a guy that stand there and shoot the ball. You had Kent, you had Kenyon, he was getting double teamed. So he wanted somebody that can spot up and shoot. And he was going after this guy, but the guy didn't have a good night. So here we are. You
committed late.
Mm-hmm.
Were you fielding offers from other schools just in case? I'm sure plenty were interested.
Oh, yeah, without question. You had Maryland, you had hometown Ohio State, Cleveland State, Clemson. I had a bunch of schools that was recruiting me, Division I. It's just about where I wanted to go and felt like where I can be pushed at because I always knew I was talented and skilled, but I didn't know how to work hard. So I wanted to go somewhere where I respect the coach and the program enough to say, listen, I got to change my body and I got to work hard, and maybe one day I can become a pro.
You wound up in the right place. And when you came here as a freshman, Melvin Levitt was a senior,
mm-hmm.
Kenyon Martin was a junior, Pete Michael just came in from junior college. It was obviously a great team, and now you're playing for one of the most demanding coaches in the country. How hard was it?
Well, the first day I got kicked out.
Kicked out of practice or kicked out of the team, off this team?
Both.
Okay.
Because first of all, I was late. Coming from high school, you think you can walk in the gym 15 minutes and put your stuff on. I walked in 15 minutes earlier, and all the guys was in the middle of the gym sweating with jerseys on and everything.
How early were you supposed to be there?
You got to be there an hour before.
Okay.
In college, you got to get preparation. You got to get taped. You got to get stretched. You got to get your shots up. You know what I mean? You got to get warmed up. This is a big deal. Me coming from high school, I'm thinking I'm big old macho coming to town.
15 minutes early.
I'm 15 minutes early, but I'm actually 45 minutes late. You know what I mean? And so I heard that from Kenyon, man, he went off on me. And that's how the practice started. And then, throwing up 3 or 4 times day one.
That's good.
Hugs, we had a trainer by the name of Jade. You remember
Jade Grossman?
Jade Grossman was the best, you know what I mean? Hugs, we was in the drill, and Hugs was like, Jade, he's not going to make it. You got to get his bags and get him on the first train smoking back to Cleveland. He's not going to make it here, I'm telling you. It was a horrible day for me. First day.
Those garbage cans were conveniently located for those early practices.
And I was wondering, I'm coming, I said, why is 4 or 5 garbage cans in the gym, right, circled around the gym? What is those for? And, Jermaine Tate was like, you'll see. Don't worry about it. Michael Horton, those are older guys. They you'll see what they're for. I'm pretty sure you're being one of those. So,
how quickly did you turn the corner and realize, all right, I can make it. This is the way it's meant to be?
It took about a month, man. The work, the body, the rest. It took that long for me to figure out, listen, man, this is serious business here. You got to go to school. You got to juggle a lot of things, but you got to be ready to practice. We're going 3 hours a day no matter what goes on. I did that for 4 years. 3 hours a day no matter what. That was his motto. And, I quickly got in my mind, if I'm going to be a player, I got to master his system. I got to become what he wants me to be.
So in between your freshman and sophomore years, Kenyon's on Team USA,
mm-hmm.
and he comes back, at least offensively, like a completely different player to my eye. Was it like that for his teammates?
Yes. I watched Kenyon turn into he was already good on defense, blocking shots and rebound. Over the summer, I watched him become a scorer, a guy that you can throw the ball to and he get us a basket. And not only that, I went to the U.S.
The tryouts
mm-hmm. my freshman year, and we was at the same place in Colorado. So I got a chance to actually practice and watch his group go because that was an older group. So I got to see what he was doing with other guys that was pros across the world, and I said, this guy is really the real deal, And that's where my respect really grew for him because he'd be there early and he'd stay late. He put his time in. He put his work in. And I had a conversation with him. I said, man, I want to be good one day. You know what I mean? What does it take? He said, you got to put your time in. You got to lead by example and verbally. So you got to show them what you're trying to tell them. And so every time I come in the gym, I could never beat him in the gym, and he always stayed late.
So that sophomore year, you're the best team in the country, spent most of the season ranked number 1. Kenny Satterfield came in that year, and toward the end of the season, Hugs decided our best unit is to start Kenny at the point and have Steve Logan be our instant offense off the bench 6th man.
Yeah.
Was that difficult?
It was. It was. By the way, shout out to Kenny Sapp, man. I love him. That's my brother. We still talk to this day. The story is, my senior year, we played Rice, New York, which is the school Kenny plays for, in Myrtle Beach Conference. I'm a senior, he's a junior. So we beat them, and I give him 35 that game. So when he shows up to campus, I said, man, you picked the wrong school, man. What are you doing here? I said, what are you doing here? Why'd you pick this school? And ever since then, we built a bond. One thing about Sat, man, he plays hard. He's from New York. He plays fast, and he plays hard, and he's smart. So I was able to learn some things from Sat, and he was able to take some things away from me as well in terms of me being older than him. So we just combine that and say, listen, we're going to go out here and compete against each other. He's going to have to play us both. It's not about competition anymore. It's about what's the best 5 out there that, best fits us winning. And so if it's me coming off the bench and you starting the game and I'm finishing the game, Hugs always told me, and I don't know if I ever really believed in this, but he always told me it's about who finishes the game, not who starts. I said, well, if I'm out there finishing the game and we up 20, it doesn't make sense. And he said, Lo, you're thinking too much about this. You know what I mean? So it worked out for us, man.
So we all know how the season ended. Kenyon broke his leg 3 minutes into the conference tournament opener against St. Louis. So you weren't in the game yet as the 6th man. You're on the bench watching this happen. What do you remember about not only that moment, but the days that followed?
Well, he's our brother first and foremost, and he's our leader. So we was more concerned about his health moving forward. It wasn't about the game anymore. Is he going to be okay? You know what I mean? Is he going to have a career after this? Everybody's saying about, okay, you could have won the national championship, but it's deeper than that with us. We just was more concerned about his health. Yeah, we do want to win the NCAA championship, but I was more concerned about is he going to be okay as a human being? And once I figured that out, I was okay with it. It's almost like, you got a guy leading us for 2 years and then you take him away. What are we supposed to do? In an instant. We're more concerned about his health. How are we going to finish the game mentally about basketball? If we worried about how he is, because he went to the locker room and we still got to play the game. So we know something's majorly wrong with him, but not really yet. So we all discombobulated about y'all. We don't really care anymore. And that's sad to say, but that's how it was. You know what I mean? He was our leader, man, and it was just so unfortunate that he broke his leg. And that was our year. My sophomore year was the best team. I would say the best team that I played on. My senior year was the best record team. But my sophomore year, I feel like that was the best team that can win the national championship.
You were going to win the national championship. I don't even have to ask you the question. Hugs tried to create the "we're not dead yet" mindset. He popped out of a coffin on TV. I was working at Fox 19 at the time. Did that resonate, or in the back of your mind are you thinking, yeah, we're still good, but it's going to be awfully hard to win without that guy?
We felt like we still had the talent, but it's going to be hard to go far without him. I mean, you've seen some of the stuff he was doing that year, man. It was amazing.
Incredible.
Me to just be out on the floor having to produce, but watching him at the same time was like, did he really just do that? I see him block a shot in DePaul 3 times in a row.
So the same guy goes up 3 times?
It was a block.
Yeah.
He got it back. He tipped it, got it back, and blocked it again on one play. And I was just like, how is he getting off the floor that fast to go get that ball in the air? It was just, he did things that year. It was just like, he's a freak, man. It was unreal.
That's what it was, too. It was how quickly he sprung into the air. I mean, there are plenty of long, athletic shot blockers, but he went from flat-footed to arm at the top of the backboard,
the quickest
better than anybody I've ever seen.
Better than I've ever seen. You know what I mean? And he helped develop my game, because I would have to go against him at practice. I would have to try to get my shot off in the lane against the number one player in the world. You know what I mean? And it was like, Logan, please stop coming in here. You know what I mean? Why do you keep coming in here? I'm going to be blocking this all day.
You going to learn your lesson?
You're going to learn or what? So, that helped develop my game, along the way.
So after that year, did you think about transferring?
I did. I told Hugs I was.
Why?
Because I felt like it was starting to get personal with me and him. You know what I mean? It was. I felt like I couldn't do anything right. It was more, you got to do this, you're not doing this. And I asked him one time, I said, do I ever do anything right? You know what I mean? As a point guard, I was serious because I wanted to know that. I said, in 2 years, have I ever did anything right for you? And he kind of, stumbled on that question, and he thought about it. And I said, I'm done, man. You know what I mean? I got other schools that want me and reaching out to me. And I don't think I can do this anymore here, And so he popped up at my dorm the week that was before to go. He popped up, Hugs never go to people's dorms. He popped up banging hard.
That's an emergency.
I'm like, who is he? He's like, Lo. He called me Lo. Lo, it's me. Open the door. I'm like, what are you doing here, man? What? So he came up in my dorm and he sat on my little raggedy couch that I had in my dorm, and he said, listen, I want to talk to you. And I would never forget this day to today. What that man said that was going to happen 2 years, I was a sophomore, what he said that was going to happen before my career ended, everything I did, he told me that sophomore, at the end of that sophomore year, I was going to do.
So player of the year, first team All-American, the whole thing.
He told me. He said, Logan, I promise you, the strategy that I was the mental game that I was trying to play with you, I was doing that so you can lead for the next 2 years. You might not understand that now, but you're going to understand why I was doing that. Kenyon's going to be gone, and I'm going to be looking for you to lead us. And that's why I took you through those 2 years the way I did, to get you prepared. And when he said that and he was honest with me about that, I kind of understood that. I come up from, grandfather's hard on me in the house, and mom demands a lot of me, so he was being honest with me. And so that's why I respected him and I stayed. He said, I know all the colleges that's calling you. I know you're supposed to be going up to Old State, O'Brien. I know Clemson's on you, this and that. He said, listen, if you stay here, you're going to be the winningest basketball player that ever came out of here. And to that day, everything he told me happened.
111 wins. Good call, Hugs.
Yes, everything he said. I joked with him about it today. I said, I was out of here. I was leaving Europe. You know what I mean? He said, I know. I said, but everything you told me came true. That's right, it did.
So there's so many great games from those final 2 years. Let's talk about a couple of my favorites, beginning with the game where you personally outscored Southern Miss. You had 41. They had 37. Final score 89-37. You had 9 assists in that game as well, which I think people forget. Did you know in real time that you were outscoring the opposition?
I didn't, Dan. Honestly, I didn't. I just knew that I had it going. I knew I was in a rhythm. I was making shots, and I just felt the energetic spirit about me to just keep going, keep playing. And then my teammates, after halftime, they was looking at the score. It's like, you got to go on. We're going to keep feeding you. And I'm like, well, keep bringing it. I'm going to keep making shots. And that's how I just got in the zone, and it was making deep shots, passing the ball, getting people involved. It was like a full circle for me. It was like, you put in all this work, and especially here at the University of Cincinnati, before the game, after game, mentally reading and studying and film and stuff like that. This is a great moment for you to embrace. You know what I mean? It was like my hard work was showing on the floor. And, I just wanted to keep it going. You know what I mean? And so that was a good game. But I really liked the game that I really enjoyed was the game where I was in Vegas, and I think it was Mississippi State. A guy by the name of Zimmerman, he was taunting us before the game. And, I was just declared an All-American. We were sitting in the stands. At the tournaments, you got to sit in the stands and with the other team.
This is like a high school gym in Vegas, too. This was not at UNLV.
Right, it's a high school gym. Yep. So we got to sit next to the team that we're getting ready to play because we're watching the team. And so the starting guard on their team was Zimmerman. He was a good player, projected to go to the NBA and everything. He was like, he looked over and he was like, man, you mighty short. Do you think you're getting that off tonight on us? Like, do you really think that's going on tonight? And, he just kept taunting me. I looked at him, I said, are you really thinking that you're going to stop me? He's like, I'm going to show you I'm going to stop you while I'm going to the NBA. And I just took that personal, and everybody on my team heard him doing that to me. So when we got into the locker room, I just went to a stone cold different person, man. I did.
A bad man.
I'm talking about a different person, And Coach Huggins at halftime, he asked me, he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, we up 15, 20. I'm like, okay. I'm like, don't take me out the game. I'm not coming out the game. And so he figured out after game what was going on, and he just said, well, I mean, you played your butt off, Ain't nothing we can ask for, you was on fire.
How about 16 assists against Coppin State? I'm not sure many Bearcat fans, even avid Bearcat fans, realize you hold the single game record for assists.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know all my stats, man.
I know a lot.
We've been around a long time.
Indeed. 16
assists is another accomplishment that I really cherish because as a point guard, your job is to get other guys involved. And if you can get other guys involved and get your points and win the game, I really think you can give yourself a pat on the back and say you did what you were supposed to give your guys a chance to win. And I felt like I was just in a creating mode to get Phil Williams the ball and, those guys. Then they was making shots now. It's not just me giving them the ball. They got to make shots.
Correct.
And Phil got hot and, another guys got hot. And so at the end of the game, when I come out the game, everybody gave me a standing ovation. I didn't know why. And Coach Keith DeGree was like, you got 16 assists, man. And I looked up, I was like, oh, wow. Like, that's never happened. I was like, I've never done that. I'm always putting the ball up. Like, I've never done it. He was like, good job. That's a really good job tonight of distributing the ball. And it just made me, felt better about what I was doing out there.
All right, one more game. Your final home game against Memphis. You're down by 2, time's running out. You dribble the length of the floor, go up in the lane, kind of an off-balance floater that hits the rim like 9 times, it felt like to me, before going in, and then you win the game in OT. That's storybook stuff for wrapping up the home portion of your college career.
Well, first of all, I told Hugs, I said, there's no need to draw many plays for this one. This is my last home game.
I got it, Coach.
Get me downhill, give me the ball, get me downhill, and let me make a play. You know what I mean? And he said that's exactly what we did. So I was able. You gotta remember, Memphis was so tall and athletic, man. DeJuan Wagner and them guys was like, they was just like us. You know what I mean? And I think Calipari was coaching them at the time. So they was well disciplined and structured about defense. And so I just happened to get past the guy and was able to get it up and give it a chance and went in.
Bing, 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 and it went in.
That's all it takes.
All right, a less pleasant memory. The final game of your college career, second round of the NCAA tournament. UC's a number 1 seed. You lose in double OT in Pittsburgh to UCLA, 105-101. What ticks you off about that game to this day?
That Matt Barnes hit. He's not known for shooting, and we got the right guy shooting the ball. All we got to do is box out, and he hits 3 threes in a row. That's just like how basketball, that was our strategy. That was our scheme, was to make a guy that's not a shooter shoot. And he just happened to make 3 of them. And, so that's what I take out of it. It's not like I'm sitting here and I'm going to blame the players, because our strategy was right. We're going to help off somebody else, and we're going to make a non-shooter shoot. He just happened to hit 3 of them, man. You know what I mean? 2 in a row and hit the 3rd one, and we're like, we can't believe it. You know what I mean? And so that's basketball for you. You know what I mean? A guy believing in himself, shooting an open shot when he knows he's not supposed to be shooting.
And they go in.
And he goes to be an NBA veteran for 15 years in the league, big-time podcast, and have a great career. You know what I mean? And that's how it is.
All right, let's go to the NBA draft. I've never really discussed this with you. Yao Ming goes as the number 1 overall pick. You go as the 29th overall pick. Now, 29th overall should have meant first round pick, but Minnesota had to forfeit its pick for going over the salary cap. So the NBA decided that you were the first pick of the second round, even though numbers wise, you were a first round pick. And that's significant because it meant no guaranteed contract.
Yes, I mean, it's bittersweet. I would have loved to go play with Minnesota at Kevin Garnett at the time, because Marbury was getting ready to get traded, and they needed a point guard in there, and Kevin Garnett and his crew was there. I would have loved to get drafted by Minnesota, but it didn't work out that way. So I fall into the second round. Means a lot mentally too, because now you have to rework your mind to make a team again.
How high did you think you were going to go?
I was projected to go to San Antonio. I think San Antonio was like 23rd, 24th. And there's some guys that went, in the first round that wasn't supposed to go. And I was battling a foot injury coming out of school. So I wasn't my same speed. I wasn't my same person, and so it didn't show up in the practices and stuff like that, and the trials and stuff like that. I was a step slow. So it was a lot of things that happened in the tryouts and the workouts before the team that let some of the GMs know, he's a step slow, and we need to figure out what's going on with him before we sign him.
You played professionally overseas, but I remember Sean Kilpatrick saying once, nobody dreams of playing overseas. Right, they dream of playing in the NBA. Absolutely. Was it depressing not to play at the level you knew you were good enough to play at?
Well, not really, because it was at times, but not drowning. I knew that I wasn't 100%. Now, if I walk into the NBA and I say I was 100% and I don't make it, that's depressing. Well, I knew something was going on with my foot when I got to Golden State. That's why they didn't sign me, because you have a extensive background that you got to go through about your body. You got to get things checked out. And so Dr. Scholes, they flew me overnight to Dr. Scholes himself, and he looked at my foot and he said, listen, you need 18 months off, or if you can continue to play and your arch drop, you're going to be done for the rest of your life. So which one do you want to do? And so me being 21, 22 at the time, I waited all my life for this to get to the NBA. And now you telling me I need to take time off and make a major decision. That's really hard on a young man, man. I'm 44 years old now, and at 22 to make that decision to say you got to take 18 months off. And I knew if I take 18 months off, there's not a chance that I get back to the NBA. That's just how fast it was moving. You know what I mean? Guards coming in. You're not a big man. You're not 7 foot. They wait on a 7-footer, but guards come a dime a dozen. You know what I mean? You coming in, and so I you know what? I'm gonna get healthy, and I'm just gonna go overseas, have a decent career, and that's that.
So since your playing days, you have coached and trained kids. Did it come naturally?
Yeah, passion. I mean, basketball is my passion, man. Development. You know what I mean? To be able to work with a kid that loves basketball but really don't have the skill, and that was me. The train coming up. Somebody had to do it for me, to teach me how to do certain things and teach me what and what not to do and how to train. So I look at it as if giving back, giving back to the game. Even though I make some money off of it, it's like if I can develop a kid or teach a kid some of the stuff that I've went through, and they don't have to fall in those pitfalls, I'm for that, you know what I mean? And I love doing that. I love player development, you know what I mean? I love getting after it with guys and teaching them how to play.
For people that go to UC games at Fifth Third Arena, there are 2 old school jerseys that you see most commonly on the fans. A Kenyon number 4 and a Steve Logan 22. How much of a kick do you get out of seeing that to this day?
I do. I get a good kick out of it. I love it, you know what I mean? Because I always say Cincinnati got some of the best fans in the world. You know what I mean? Even when I'm out in public, grocery stores, or out doing shopping or something like that, people still recognize me. And after 20-some years, that's amazing to me, man. You know what I mean? And that's an honor. And I don't take that for granted. I have a little son. I got an older son and I got a younger son. My younger son is 10, my other boy's in college. And when he comes around here, he can't believe it. He's like, Daddy, you really did know how to play basketball. He's 10 years old. And I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, I was pretty good. You need to start listening to what some of this stuff
That's what YouTube is for, kid.
So you can be good. You know what I mean? So you got to start listening to me. But I get a kick out of it, man. You know what I mean? It's an awesome feeling to see a 22 jersey on somebody's back and ask for people to ask me for pictures after 20-some years, man. It's an awesome feeling.
You're around the team a lot. What do you think of Wes?
I like Wes. I think he's a honest guy. First and foremost, I think he's honest. You know what I mean? I come from an honest background. I like people that is honest, that's going to tell you yay or nay. You know what I mean? And that's what he does. I think he's doing a better job in recruiting, trying to put the pieces in place. It's hard. It's hard being a coach these days, man. It is. With this transfer portal, and if you coach a kid too hard, he's going to leave. If you don't coach him hard enough, he feels like he's not for you. So I think this is the generation of coaches. This is the hardest generation to coach kids in. You know what I mean? So I think he's done a good job to this point. I think this is the year that he needs to go further. We haven't been in the NCAA in, 5 or 6 years? And you got people that's been around here for years that's looking for UC to get back into that NCAA picture. And I think he's doing everything that he's supposed to do to get us back there.
I don't think Wes would object to those words at all. Do you see some Steve Logan and Jizzle James?
I do.
I do too.
His heart. As a freshman, his toughness, his heart. He no quit. He wants to win. You know what I mean? I think in time, with experience and wisdom, is that he's going to get better. He's going to learn how to lead. But as a freshman and a sophomore, you got to follow. Good leaders follow first. You know what I mean? To become leaders. And so that's what he's doing. But he's also showing his athleticism. He's showing that he can score the ball off the dribble. So he has to continue to work and not take a back seat. When you're young, you tend to take a back seat and say, you know what, I'm going to let the other guys do it. No, you're becoming a sophomore. So you have to.
It's your time.
It's your time. And you have to believe that and you have to show that. So I like Jizzle. I'm a big Jizzle fan.
All right, I'm going to wrap this up with a question that I saw Kenyon Martin asked, and going to pose the same question to you, beginning with the start of your UC playing career. So we're going back about 25 years now.
You asked me this question this year, too.
Yeah,
man.
I'm going to ask you again, see if your answer has changed. Going back to the beginning of your playing days at UC, so we're talking about a quarter of a century, give me your UC starting five.
Ooh-wee. That's good, because I got some brothers that I played with, man, and you putting me on the spot.
You're allowed to give a bench if you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
You're putting me on the spot. It's no disrespect to none of my guys out there,
They know.
I love you guys, but my top five that I played with to now.
Or since.
Yep. It's got it.
Kenyon's a layup.
I'm a big Danny Forson fan.
I am too.
I like Danny.
Now he was just before you, but that's fine.
Yeah,
we'll count it.
I like Danny Forson. I'm going to my three man is two different people. It's between DeMar Johnson and Ruben Patterson.
Okay.
At the three. For me.
All right. So one's starting, one's coming off the bench.
One starting,
one force you to choose.
Yeah, and I'm not going to choose between those two.
Fine.
Both of those my brothers. Okay.
That's right.
I got SK at the two. I got to go with SK at the two because of his body of work, what he's done here.
One of only two guys to score more points here than you.
The way he played the game and he shot the ball and he was a scorer, and of course me at the one.
Good. I'm glad.
But the toss.
I'm glad you didn't hedge.
Yeah, no, I'm not hedging. I'm not hedging with me. But the three, it's a toss up between DeMar Johnson and Ruben Patterson at the three. I take any one of those guys in a ball game.
That's a good team. I think that team's going to win a few games.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do too. I do too.
This has been fun. You have been an exceptional first guest on the Let's Rain podcast. It's always a pleasure.
It's an honor.
And hope that we'll do it again down the road.
It's an honor, man. I appreciate you, man. Keep doing what you're doing. You're looking good, man.
Looking forward to golfing.
You don't age, man. Do you age, man, or what?
That's the advantage of going bald when you're 30. You never look much older.
Right. But thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.